Victoria Amador here from Soul Healing Tribe, and today I want to talk to you about the astral body. So I've been talking about the astral planes for a long time, but one thing that I want to focus on for this video is on the astral body and why it's so important to really work with the energy of compassion and empathy, which is why when we start going through the spiritual awakening journey, we tend to have that feeling that we can feel what other people are feeling because we're trying to wake up those natural abilities within us to be able to perceive what other people are experiencing, even when they are not verbally expressing those sensations and feelings and thoughts. So a long time ago, I started having downloads with pleroma. This is a word that eventually I was able to find what this really meant, but not because you Google it, not because you're looking at it, researching it, but because you really know what that means, like at a deep essence, at a cellular level, you really understand what this means. And when we take a look at it, it is really that expression of becoming aware. For me, what it means is becoming aware of my divine self so that I can awaken natural abilities that we all have. I don't really get tired of saying that because I think a lot of people think only people that are in certain traditions, spiritual practices, and so on, or that are born a certain way, have these gifts. No, I believe that we all have natural abilities. These are God-given abilities. Like, all we have to do is really develop this, have discipline to develop them and awaken them within us when we go through our healing journey. Sometimes we have them even without going through the healing journey because we have been working on it for many lifetimes. So, or if you're a star C light worker, you might already come activated with those gifts within you that you don't have to wait years and years to awaken them. So that's why some people tend to show those abilities earlier than others. So if you look it up, it's going to be a spiritual concept that really allow us to feel the totality, the fullness of God. But I believe it's God within us. It's not God outside of us, but God within us that then connects with everything around us. So how do we do that, though? In order for us, when we're going through the spiritual journey, is to awaken the empath abilities. That's why when we start working with the heart chakra, we really start activating a very important power within us, because without the heart chakra, I've been talking about the heart chakra for many, many years now, because I really do believe that the heart chakra is the key for us to really awaken our true potential. So when we start working on empathy and compassion, we are then able to astral travel in a way that is more in alignment with who we really are, without the false illusions of the matrix. I also speak a lot about how when we go through the astral planes, if we are not in the healing process, if we haven't started that process, we may end up in what I call the left planes. The left planes can be dense. We will tap into a lot of the pain and suffering, not only of the humans, but beyond. And the reason why I think it can be very serious, even when people are doing Kundalini journeys or meditations to awaken the third eye without really going through a healing process, it is so risky, because I see a lot of people that come to me after they've done that, and they are basically experiencing what some people in the medical field might call a mental breakdown. So they're going through psychosis because they were able to download and experience so much information that really kind of attacks the reality of the little human self that doesn't understand the grandiose plan of the universe. And then a lot of things are happening in the brain. The person feels like the reality is just collapsing. Therefore, they can definitely have a mental breakdown. And sometimes people, when they do Kundalini meditation and journeys to awaken the third eye without proper preparation, they can end up getting to the point where they even have to take medication. And people have normal, regular Kundalini moments where they are not doing anything. They're just having a regular day and something happens and they get infused with so much. Their filter of consciousness is opening up to the point that is insane. And then they feel like they're really having a mental breakdown. They didn't do medicine, they didn't do yoga, they didn't do Kundalini meditation, they didn't do anything besides having a regular day, but they were due for that awakening, which is why the healing process is so key. Because when you're going through, if you have a feeling that you're supposed to be helping somebody, whether it is through herbs, using your hands, helping them with self-awareness, exercise, whatever it is, if you have a calling to help other people, that also means that you need to get on board and get your healing journey in check, so that when that time comes and you're having those moments and you're awakening until you really like come out of it, that means it's best for you to go through a process of healing whatever isn't worked through yet in your life. If you have memories, if you have thoughts, if you have ideas that maybe something happened in childhood but you're not sure, if you have limiting thoughts, if you have behaviors that you don't like, that you do them but you do them because they're just habit, that means that there are things to work through. Better to get it done before you go through those spiritual awakenings, because it just makes life so much easier. So in one of the pictures that I'm going to show you here, what I want you to see is how the astral body is really the copy of our higher self, our sacred self, I always talk about the fact that I don't want people to be invoking energies outside of them. But at the same time, I want you to be clear that we have our bodies. Our body have so much wisdom. It's such a beautiful, powerful machine. And it really is the sacred temple. And it took me many years to really, 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 really understand what that means. Because for a long time, I didn't feel that I was in this body. And I talked always about the depression that I had in childhood growing up and all of that. You can understand why I didn't feel like I was in this body, because I was not in this body, right? So when we start honoring the intelligence of our body, we can tap into the inner wisdom within us that has access to the heart, the 7, the 8, the 10 chakra, and so on, and eventually to our higher self that is within us, is outside of us, is part of everything and everyone, and is beyond what I can express with my words. So when we start understanding the sacred machine that this body is, that holds in part of our essence of our soul, we can understand why this body is so powerful and smart and wise, and it has everything throughout the universe, all the memories throughout the universe in our cellular structure, in our cellular memory. If I have everything within me, imagine what I can discover within me to be able to access the higher me, the one that is in me and around me and outside of me and part of everything and everyone. When I start anchoring myself in this body and feeling that I am part of this body and this experience and this earth and part of you and part of my community in this country and the planet as a collective, the universe, I can then work with my heart chakra to have access to the higher wisdom of myself. The lower chakras are very much in the physical, but they cannot be ignored, because without them, we don't have access to the higher chakras. Without them, we don't really have control of, no control. Maybe that's not the right word, but we will not be able to truly understand the point of our higher self being in this experience in this body, for example, in my case, being here as Victoria, living this human experience, and then being able to travel to the spirit and higher realms to understand what within my soul decided to have this experience as Victoria. So for me to really understand what is my life purpose here now, what is that I need to be able to do? Because when I do that, I can align the lower me with my heart, with my higher me, so that then I'm in full alignment. I cannot do that until I start working on understanding and accepting the past experiences so that I don't forget it, I don't put it away. I bring it to awareness in order for me to accept, release, and shift them, in order for me to be able to activate the higher chakra, in order for me to be able to have access to my throat chakra, which is my willpower, is basically the filter that makes all the information that comes from the higher chakras, from the third eye and the crown, access to my higher self, my ultimate higher self, to give me information without being filtered through my illusions. Because if I'm not in alignment, if I'm living in fear, in low self-esteem, in feeling abandoned and rejected, separated from myself and others, and all of that, I am living in an illusion. So I have to work through that illusion by healing. And when I heal, I have access to the higher centers that then can give me the right information about my experience here, this reality, that otherwise I cannot do until I heal. And to heal, I have to work on basically all the chakras, anything, the fears, the doubts, the confusion, the low vibration emotions, the things that keeps me feeling grief, isolated, lost, separated, abandoned, rejected, unwanted, unlovable, that makes me feel fear of things because I don't know my power. So I'm completely blocking my, no, by purpose. We do this because we have to survive, but my third eye may be blocked because I'm living in fear of things, energies, demons, entities, ETs, because I don't understand my power. I don't recognize who when I recognize who I really am, those things have to be afraid of me because I'm fully in my power, and therefore they cannot control or do anything to me that I don't accept. So when I start working on understanding who I really am, working through the illusions and the fears and the feelings of being separate from God, the universe, others, the planet, the collective, from myself, especially, because that's the first one. You know, one of the things that I have an issue with is when people start working on the collective, but we don't understand how does that reflect back to me. So I always like to work from me out. So what do I need to work? And then when something comes up for the collective, why is that coming up? And how is that a reflection of the issues that I have that I need to work through? Because if I always put it on the outside, I'm not taking responsibility for myself. So I have to take responsibility for myself. So what is it within me that I need to work through in order for me to get to the point where I can activate and have some sort of discipline and control over my astral body, so that when I do astral traveling, astral projection, that I don't end up in the planes that can compromise my energy. Not because I'm afraid, but because I understand what is there, and that I can choose to go to other planes of existence that have wisdom and power and knowledge that can help me have the life that I need here, that I want here, in order for me to be happy with myself, feel connected, feel present, and also be able to help others do the same thing. So it's not because of fear, but because I understand beyond what I can. It's almost like a respect for where to go with your body. You know, when we go to the spirit realm, to the ancestral realm, or the dead realm, the spirit realm, which are different than the ancestral realm at the same time. We take a lot of risk, and we do that in shamanism when we're doing soul retrieval for other people. But why do we do that? It's because we have to have training that the clients don't have. But when we do it in a therapeutic process, we do it in a way that doesn't compromise the energy of the person. But if something comes up when the practitioner has the right training in the spirit realm, even when something comes up, we can guide the clients properly without compromising their energy. I'm going to talk more about that in another video, but for the sake of this conversation, I want to focus on the astral body and what happens when we heal and we start healing. And, sometimes you have astral body experiences, out of body experiences, and you have no control over. You do this in the dreams naturally. Some people do it lucidly. Some people do it willingly in the daytime. But they might not be able to reproduce that very well because there is no discipline. There is not enough energy in the intention and the proper process to know how to move your astral body willingly in order for you to let go of all the senses, the human senses, and tap into the astral senses in a way that you can actually be one with those senses out of your body. And then knowing how to come back into your body without freaking out, because that's another story, that takes discipline. But I want you to know that every night, most of us go into the astral plane normally. We dream. It is part of the experience. We have 3 bodies. We have this body, we have the astral body, and we have the higher body. The higher body is like, let's call it the higher self. I see it as 4 bodies, but most people will say it as 3 bodies. I see it, the soul body, the spirit body, the astral body, and the lower human body. That's just the way I see it. You might see it as 3, and that's fine. However you make sense of it is fine. The higher self, the ultimate higher self that is one with the universe and with God, with everything, that sends a small amount of energy into this body to activate this body with the spirit, is connected to us through the higher chakras, right? That energy that animates the spirit and is directly connected to source provides information constantly to us through the higher chakras. The information flows down. Sometimes, in sessions, I'm definitely going to try to see if one of my clients wants to do a video on this, because she just had a powerful spiritual ceremony where she experienced some of this. So she will be a good person to interview so that you can see that people are having these experiences every day when we're doing spiritual ceremonies, because this is real. This is not just me or other people talking about it, but really understanding that the information is being filtered. But due to the fears, due to the traumas that we experience in this life and others, is going to create illusions, especially if you're having thoughts that are not very positive, or if you tap into information that confuses you even more. You may be really filtering that information from a false filter, basically from the illusionary filter, not the clear filter, so that you filter everything through the fears, the traumas, the wounds that you experience in this life, in between lives, in past lives, and other lives. So by the time that it gets to the crown, to the third eye, and down to the throat, and down to your heart, and down to the other centers, you are really misinterpreting the information. I got interrupted and I lost my train of thought, but the way that I see the astral planes with the different planes within the planes of existence, so almost like dimensions within the planes of existence, that can be from the lower, middle, upper, and in between that there are many different dimensions. So it's quite interesting to be able to experience that. I think it was Yogananda who was talking about the astral planes as being very light and colorful and so on. And I'm sure that it is like that for some people, depending on which dimension you go to. But the ones that I've been able to perceive when I'm doing shamanic journeys on behalf of somebody else is quite disturbing sometimes, especially if the person is going through a lot of fears, anxiety, feeling scared, anxious about life, or things that happened in the past that are still triggering them. Those people tend to go to the planes of existence where there is a lot of disturbance in the planes, and it's like going through an ocean of disturbance. Everybody's uploading information to the astral planes, and depending when you go to sleep, at what state you're in, you can actually tap into those different planes within the planes in the astral planes that may make you feel scared or amplify what you're already feeling, because that's where your frequency, your vibration is leading you to. Some people are able to go over that, but for people that are really being traumatized or have been traumatized, they might end up in those planes, because that's where the frequency is almost like looking for something that is similar. And some people can avoid it by going to more magical or more neutral, or speaking with their spirit team, depending on the mission that they have here and the knowledge that they have from before. So it's not just like, oh, randomly. When we go into the astral planes, we can also go to different planes within the astral planes where we can receive teachings, and we can be in training, we can be receiving knowledge, we are training to do specific things. In 21 divisions, this is very popular, where people are going into the dreams and they're receiving knowledge and teachings from the spirits that they're working with. Same thing happened with anyone. Anyone can go into the different mystery schools. I call them mystery schools. You might call them something else. You might just call them schools. And you're really learning things that you need in order for you to understand what's happening, not only on a physical level, but energetically as well. And if you're training because you're really saying, yes, I want to be able to help others, you might even tap into that and receive teachings on how to understand energy on a very much advanced level, so that you can do the work that you're supposed to do for you to help others. Another thing that I wanted to mention before I forget is that just like we have the physical karma for this body, we also have the astral karma. And when we transition, when we leave this body, depending on what's happening with you at that moment, you may, depending on your level of consciousness, what's happening in that moment, you may leave with a specific thought that takes you, basically like teletransport you to a specific part within the astral planes that may keep you there and may compromise your energy at the astral form level, where you might stay there depending on what was happening when you transition and your filter of consciousness, that may make you stay there longer than expected. And therefore, it may be due to the things that need to be balanced, karma, the things that need to be balanced, the actions that needs to be balanced, planes, or sometimes energies are stalling in the astral planes that may make you do things against your will because of confusion and your inability to understand what's going on. And therefore, you may be stuck in the astral planes and have astral karma to pay before continuing on with the journey to go back to source. So this is very it's complicated, but it's simple at the same time. And we have to, even in the astral planes, when we do soul retrieval, what we're saying is we have to find the part of the soul that moved away from the wholeness of who you are. And sometimes those parts are stolen by people in this life, or they can be stolen by spirits. They could be left in the place where the trauma happened. They could be hiding somewhere. They could be in a cave with ancestors or whoever. And when we go to search for those pieces, you might experience that sometimes there is a fight to let go of where they are, or they might be confused because they still trapped in the feeling, in the thought that they have to pay for something, or that they deserve to pay for something, that they deserve the damage that happened because of, at the spirit level, they feel like this only happened because I deserve this. So if there is a part that believes that, perhaps there is an experience in a past life or in the spirit realm when this belief was created. So we kind of have to go hunting for that. So this is a little complicated, but at the same time, it's simple if you are able to stick with, like just the steps. Like, okay, we have astral karma, we have physical karma. Depending on what's happening, we may end up in the different planes of existence within the astral planes. And eventually, when that gets worked out, or somebody's rescue that part of the soul, or that energy realizes I've been tricked or I need to move on, then they can transition to the next phase. It's hard to say that everything that happened is because we're being tricked. No, it's not necessarily because we're being tricked. There is a lot of this is happening because we need to learn. And one of the things that a lot of people realize, especially when they do psychedelics and they are really connecting with their spirit at a very deep level, is that they have a deep sense of knowingness that they have chosen these experiences to learn something, whatever that may be. Everybody's going to be different. And once that thing that needed to be learned is basically confronted to the physical, the astral, and the higher part of who we are, then we can become in alignment, because there's no longer friction of, I need to keep looking because I don't know what it is. And now I know what it is. So hello, meet me here. Realize that we have learned what we came here to learn. Now we can let those lessons go. We don't need to continue to experience that keeps repeating. And now I can do the other higher aspect of my mission. There are multiple layers to the different missions that we have. It's not just one. Some people say, I came here to help. But the deeper they go, they realize a part of the spirit also said that they wanted to experience something different than this unity, than this consciousness of being one. And therefore, when they separate from their soul, they feel this immense shame. And shame is an interesting emotion to work through because it's very heavy. It's the lowest one. But isn't it interesting that shame is one of the things that a lot of us came to explore, because we needed to experience, we felt like we needed to experience what is shame in this physical body and how does it affect us at an energetic body. When you have shame, you feel like you have to retrieve, you're protecting yourself to survive. You become very small, which is very different than this huge essence that you are. So it's the opposite of this immense, loving, all-knowing, compassionate, united energy, to become so small that you have to retrieve to protect your energy in order for you to continue to survive, is the opposite of being all of that you are. So if you are dealing with shame, feelings of dissociation, separation, guilt, it's just like parts of your soul, a part of your soul trying to figure out what that feels like. And now that you know, if you're done feeling those things, you will know if you're done feeling those things, because you're going to be like, okay, that's it, we're done. We need to do something about this. And then you'll start your healing journey, or your spiritual awakening will happen. It will prompt you to work through those things, because you have to get to the other side of that shame. And to get to the other side of that shame, you have to work on releasing all of that energy that is stuck in your body, all of those emotions, all of those faulty beliefs, so that you can get to the other side of that. But it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. So I'm going to leave it here. And in the next video,